What's up, sports fans? It's your boy Chris back again with Opinionated Sports. Today we're going to talk a little Western Conference playoff matchups, a little NBA action. I'm going to touch on some NFL moves that have been happening lately. And briefly, I'll touch on the NCAA tournament. And that's what we got for today. But let's start right off here. Actually, hit me up on the text line at 315-355-3699. Let me know what you think about any and all of these topics that we got today, what I got to say. Let me know what you want to hear about going forward. But let's start right off today with the NBA and the Western Conference playoff situation. Currently, right now, Oklahoma City sits in the 4 seed, 17 games out of first. After last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves sit in the 8 seed, 19 games out of first. So the difference between the 4 seed and the 8 seed is 2 games. Oklahoma City, New Orleans, San Antonio, Utah, and Minnesota are all separated by 2 games. So a lot can happen here in the last 6 or 7 games of the year to really switch up the seedings. And as a basketball fan, as a sports fan, and as a fan of matchups, because really that's what basketball is a game of matchups. I would love to see, and I apologize to Oklahoma City fans as I'm about to say this, I would love to see Oklahoma City drop to the 7 seed, and I'll tell you why. Sorry, I needed a sip of coffee. The reason I'd love to see that is because that's a first-round matchup I'd be licking my chops for. And if you're Golden State, that can't be anything you want to see. We already know Steph Curry's not coming back for the first round of the playoffs. We know this already. So do you really want to see an Oklahoma City team in the first round? With your team banged up? Because Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, while they will be back for the first round of the playoffs, they're still banged up. Like, KD's rib injury isn't just going to miraculously heal. He'll play through it. So let's talk about the matchup really quick, because Oklahoma City, as much as other teams in the NBA have been bitten by the injury bug, other than Andre Roberson, OKC has avoided it. I actually just looked at their injury report a minute ago. Roberson's the only guy listed. There's nobody day-to-day. There's no game-time decision. There's nobody with an expected return date. Nothing. Roberson's it. Now, Roberson is an elite on-ball defender, and that was a tough loss for them. But Corey Brewer has stepped in nicely in that position, and he adds an offensive threat that Roberson just doesn't. He just doesn't have zero offensive game. And Jeremy Grant has filled in nicely off the bench in that defensive replacement spot. And his offensive game has come around lately. He's been shooting the ball better. We all know he's a sick athlete. But his offensive game has come around. So I think that's a dangerous thing that Golden State could run into in the first round. But what if it's not? What if it's San Antonio? You know, LaMarcus Aldridge went out with a knee contusion, and they're only a half a game out of the 7 spot. What if they drop there and LaMarcus Aldridge is healthy for the playoffs? And while I know that there's zero expectation of Kawhi Leonard coming back, what if he does? What if Kawhi's back for the playoffs and LaMarcus Aldridge is healthy and Golden State has to run into San Antonio in the first round? Here's what I know for a fact, regardless of who they see. Golden State better come with their A game ready, with their game faces on. Because the way I've watched them play this season is what I've coined the term entitled basketball for them this year. And now I watch First Take in the mornings. I actually record it. I watch it later in the afternoon and the evenings because I work. But Stephen A. Smith seems to be really buying into this entitled basketball that they're playing. And what I mean by that is they just expect to win because they're Golden State. They expect to win because they're more talented. And everything else is irrelevant because they're Golden State. And you can see it on the court with the way they talk to the refs, the way they react to calls, the number of texts that Kevin Durant and Draymond Green have gotten throughout the season. they're not the same team from 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and last year that was feared. I want to compare them a little bit to the New England Patriots in that teams just really aren't scared of Golden State like they used to be. Should they be? Maybe, but not the way they're playing basketball right now. It's really too easy to get in their head. So if you're a Golden State fan, it's time to be nervous a little bit about the first round of the playoffs and hope you can sneak through that and get Steph back for the conference semifinals. I do see the teams that are currently in the playoffs staying there. There is, I think, a game and a half separation between Minnesota in the 8th seed and the Clippers and Nuggets just outside the playoffs. But I think we end just like that. OKC, New Orleans, San Antonio, Utah, Minnesota. But who knows what the order is going to be. So that's what I've got for the NBA right now, guys. Again, hit me up on the text line. Let me know what you think. 315-399-36. I'm sorry. 315-355-3699. I don't even know my own text line number. I'll get there, though. I'll learn it. Up next, let's hit up a little NCAA college basketball. Final Four Saturday. Championship game Monday. It's going to be an awesome time. Is everybody still rooting for Loyola? I know I am. I'm pulling for Loyola. Yes, the Blue Bloods are there. We have Kansas. We have Villanova. We have Michigan. And as much as it would be a great championship game, most likely to see Michigan, Villanova, or Michigan, Kansas, screw that. Let me get Loyola. Let me get the Ramblers. I love the way they play basketball. And their big man, I don't know his name. I'm not supposed to know his name. He's from Loyola, Chicago. I didn't see a single game they played all year till the tournament. But their center is a really, really good ball player. He's offensively sneaky in the paint, and he passes extremely well. And for a small team that Loyola is, he lessens the rebound margin gap because he's really good on the boards. So I would like to see Loyola and Kansas, because I think if I'm pulling for Loyola, Kansas is their best bet to beat Kansas better than their chance to beat Villanova. So let's go Sister Jean. Let's go Loyola, Chicago. Keep on rambling. In just a personal note on this, I do have a really good friend of mine who is a Loyola Chicago alumni, and he told me before the tournament started to watch out for this team because they're talented and because they're good. And I doubted him. I told him, man, you're an alumni. These are the things you're supposed to say. But I was wrong, and he was right. So quick shout out to my good buddy Chris Yu. Keep on rambling, buddy. Keep on rambling. Lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL and some NFL moves. Pardon my pronunciation of this. I'll never get it right. Ndamukong Suh now signed with the Rams, and they have finished up creating a defense that on paper looks like it's going to be the best in the NFL, if not one of the all-time elite defenses, with the signing of Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters. You got Aaron Donald over there. They're just elite across the board now. The question is now, does it work on the field? It works great in theory. Does it work in reality? And regardless of their signings in the offseason and what they've done, and yes, they still have Todd Gurley and Jared Goff and McVay over there with the headset on, I don't think they're the favorites in the NFC. I still think Philadelphia has to be the favorites. Listen, this Eagles team won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Doug Peterson is the quarterback whisperer. Yes, they lost their offensive coordinator. Frank Reich left. Went to the Colts after the shenanigans and tomfoolery that follow New England's Patriots players and staff everywhere. But he went over to the Colts, and so now we were short an offensive coordinator. But I think Doug McDermott's still going to pull it together, and they added some pieces. They got rid of Torrey Smith, added Mike Wallace. That's an upgrade at the receiver position. Brought in Michael Bennett, who, yes, he's going through some legal trouble in Texas right now, and we're not going to touch on that at this point, but I actually would like to get into that in a future podcast. Maybe I'll do a bonus on Friday or Saturday. Brought in Haloti Ngata from Detroit. When they traded Torrey Smith, they did bring a corner over from the Carolina Panthers. Don't recall his name off the top of my head. But they're still the favorites in my book. I think the Minnesota Vikings actually are going to decline from last year. I think getting rid of Case Keenum and bringing in Kirk Cousins is a horrendous idea. You're getting rid of a guy who was fitting perfectly into that system and bringing in a guy who's a gunslinger. I get it. Kirk Cousins is a gunslinger. He can really rack up some yards and points. But I think Case Keenum's really going to find his niche over there in Denver, so I'm pulling for him over there. I like Case Keenum. But I think Minnesota's going to drop a little bit. New Orleans, I got being the third team in the NFC. Atlanta's still there to be reckoned with. So the NFC is going to be fun this year. There's some talent out there. Speaking of talent that's out there in the NFC, what's going to happen to OBJ, guys? Are the Giants going to trade him? I think they should trade him. I really, truly believe the Giants should trade him. They're not talented enough to truly contend in the NFC this year, I believe. Yes, they brought in Nate Solder from New England to anchor up that left tackle spot. They're going to move Eric Flowers over to right tackle. But outside of that, they brought in Jonathan Stewart, who is a serviceable running back, but he's getting up there in age. So is he really going to be able to shoulder the load that the Giants need to be able to take some pressure off Eli Manning? But OBJ coming back from injury, I don't know that, they're just good enough to contend. So you trade him away. The Rams are right now interested. They have some picks on the table. The Cleveland Browns, it looks like, want to put together a package with Corey Coleman and a first-round pick. If you're the Giants, you're already at the number 2 pick. If you can get anything packaged that includes a first-rounder this year and or a first or second rounder going forward along with a young player, I think you almost have to take it. And you have to concede the fact that you're not going to be competitive in the NFC in the next 3 or 4 years. So that's what I got today for you guys. A little NBA, a little March Madness, a little NFL. Opening day of baseball season is tomorrow. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Go Yankees. The new Murderers Row. So hit me up on the text line again, 315-355-3699. I do know my phone number. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Opinionated Sports. Check out my YouTube channel as well, Opinionated Sports, guys. Have a good one. I'll be back on Sunday with a new podcast. May hit you up with some bonus material over the weekend, Friday or Saturday. Later.